My husband handed me the white pill with a glass of water and smiled like a man saving my life. But in that moment, I finally understood he wasn't helping me heal, he was teaching everyone how to doubt me. "You need to take it, Nora," Adam said, his voice low and patient, the way people speak to frightened children or unstable strangers. "You've had a long morning, don't push yourself." I sat at our kitchen table in Seattle with my ribs aching from the accident, my left wrist still wrapped in a soft brace, and the smell of burnt toast hanging in the air because he had insisted on making breakfast, even though I hated the way he scraped butter across bread, like he was angry at it. Rain slid down the windows behind him, turning the city gray and soft. And somewhere beyond the glass, Sweet Harbor Bakery was opening without me again. My bakery, my ovens, my recipes, my staff, my name painted in gold letters on the front window. For 12 years, I had built that place from a narrow storefront with one secondhand mixer into one of the busiest artisan bakeries in Seattle, a place where people lined up before sunrise for honey lavender croissants and brown butter pear tarts. Then a delivery truck ran a red light. My car spun across 2 lanes, and suddenly everyone around me started acting as though broken bones had also broken my mind. Adam said I needed rest. My sister Elise said I needed perspective. Investors said the business needed stability. Staff members stopped calling me directly and began routing questions through my husband, as if marriage had quietly promoted him above me. At first, I told myself they meant well. Pain makes you suspicious. Exhaustion turns every whisper into a threat. That was what Adam kept saying anyway. Your body is still recovering. He reminded me whenever I asked why he had changed the bakery email password. You don't need stress. When I asked why he had taken over supplier calls, he kissed my forehead and said, "Because I love you." When I asked why our accountant had sent reports to him instead of me, he sighed and said, "Because you forgot 3 appointments last week." I had forgotten one. One physical therapy appointment, after a night of pain so sharp I had sat upright until dawn, counting breaths like prayers. But Adam had a gift for turning one mistake into a pattern, and one pattern into a diagnosis. That morning, he set the pill closer to me. "Please don't make this difficult." I looked at his hand, then at his face. He was handsome in the way people trusted too easily. Dark blonde hair, clean jaw, blue eyes that softened exactly when they needed to. For years, customers had called him charming when he helped at holiday rushes. They never saw how charm could become a velvet rope, guiding people away from whatever truth he didn't want them to reach. "I don't want to be sedated before I talk to my own manager," I said. His expression tightened for half a second before concern returned. "It's not sedation, it's prescribed. And Marisol already understands you're not ready to return. Marisol works for me. She works for the bakery," he said gently. "And right now, the bakery needs calm leadership." There it was again. Calm leadership. The phrase he had used so often lately, it had begun to sound rehearsed. I pushed the glass away. "I am the leadership," Adam breathed out slowly, as if I had disappointed him exactly the way he expected. "This is what worries me." The front door opened before I could answer, and Elise walked in without knocking, shaking rain from her expensive black coat. My older sister had always entered rooms like she had already judged them, and found them slightly beneath her. She kissed Adam on the cheek, kissed the air near mine, then looked at the untouched pill on the table. "Nora," she said, soft and sad. "Not again." I laughed once, because if I didn't, I might scream. "You two coordinate your concern now?" Elise removed her gloves finger by finger. "We coordinate because you refuse to listen. Adam is exhausted. The staff is confused. Lily is scared. And you're sitting here acting like taking prescribed medication is some conspiracy." My daughter's name hit me harder than the rest. Lily was 14, old enough to understand tension, but too young to carry adult fear without it changing her. Lately, she moved through the house quietly, her headphones around her neck, eyes tracking every conversation. She had stopped asking when I would come back to the bakery. Maybe she was afraid of the answer. Maybe someone had already given her one. "Do not use Lily to win an argument," I said. Elise's eyes cooled. "Then stop giving everyone reasons to worry about her." Adam reached for my shoulder, but I stood before he could touch me. Pain flared through my side, bright and humiliating. I grabbed the back of the chair to steady myself, and both of them saw it. Worse, both of them looked relieved. "See?" Adam murmured. "You're not ready." For the rest of the day, I gave them what they wanted. Quiet. I nodded when Elise suggested I take an extended medical leave. I said nothing when Adam took a call from Victor Lang, a private investor who had been sniffing around Sweet Harbor for months, calling it scalable in a tone that made my handmade recipes sound like factory parts. I sat on the couch with a blanket over my knees while they spoke in the kitchen. Their voices low enough to be private but loud enough to remind me privacy no longer belonged to me. By late afternoon, Lily came home from school and found me pretending to read. She dropped her backpack near the stairs, then hovered in the living room. "Mom?" I looked up. Her face was pale beneath her freckles. "What is it, sweetheart?" She glanced toward the kitchen, where Adam and Elise were still murmuring. "Aunt Elise said something weird yesterday." My stomach tightened. "What did she say?" Lily twisted the drawstring of her hoodie around one finger. "She said if you went somewhere for a while, I shouldn't be mad, that it might be the only way for you to get better." The room seemed to narrow around her. "Went somewhere? Like a recovery place. Private. She said Dad might have to make hard decisions because you won't." The book slid from my lap onto the floor. For a second, I could not speak. The rain tapped against the windows, the refrigerator hummed, and my daughter stood in front of me waiting to find out whether her mother was still someone who could protect her. I opened my arms, and she came to me carefully, mindful of my ribs. "Listen to me," I whispered into her hair. "I am hurt, I am tired, but I am not disappearing. No one gets to send me away from you." She nodded against my shoulder, but I felt the tremble she was trying to hide. That tremble changed something in me. Until then, I had been confused, angry, afraid. But fear becomes different when it touches your child. It turns into a blade. That night, after Adam drove Elise home and Lily went upstairs, I waited until the shower started in our bathroom. Then I walked slowly into the small office off the kitchen where we kept bakery files. My laptop was gone from the desk. Adam had moved it, probably for my own good. But the old desktop was still there, the one connected to the bakery's scheduling system and security cameras. I woke it up, typed in the password I had created years before Adam started helping, and opened the folder marked Operations. Most files were normal: payroll, vendor lists, holiday production schedules. Then I saw a new document near the top, created that afternoon. Its title made the air leave my lungs. Temporary Transfer of Management Authority. My hand froze over the mouse. From upstairs, the shower kept running, steady as applause behind a locked door. The title of the file sat on the screen like a sentence already passed in a courtroom where I had not been allowed to speak. Temporary Transfer of Management Authority. I clicked once, then stopped with my finger still pressing the mouse, because some instinct warned me that opening it would divide my life into before and after. Upstairs, the shower ran behind the closed bathroom door, and every few seconds the pipes made a soft knocking sound in the wall, like a warning from the bones of the house. I opened the document anyway. The first page was dressed in harmless language, all polished phrases and professional formatting. Continuity of operations, medical recovery period, temporary executive delegation, preservation of brand value. But beneath the clean legal words was a knife. The agreement would give Adam authority to make staffing decisions, approve vendor changes, negotiate investment offers, access business accounts, represent Sweet Harbor Bakery in all strategic discussions, and sign certain documents on my behalf if my medical condition temporarily impaired my capacity to participate. My name was already typed below a signature line. His was typed below another. There was a blank for a witness. I thought of Elise's smooth voice, her expensive coat dripping rain onto my floor, her eyes on the pill I refused to take. I thought of Victor Lang, smiling in his charcoal suits, telling me months ago that Sweet Harbor could become a regional powerhouse if I stopped being sentimental about hand-shaped dough and handwritten menus. I had told him then that I did not build a bakery to turn it into a franchise wearing my grandmother's recipes like a costume. He had laughed like I was charming, not serious. Now his name appeared in the document as a potential strategic partner. My stomach rolled. I did not print the file. I did not email it to myself from that computer. Pain had made me slower, but it had not made me stupid. I took photos of every page with my phone, careful to capture the timestamp, the file path, the names, the hidden notes in the margin where someone had written, "Nora may resist. Emphasize staff jobs and Lily's stability." Then I closed the document and left the office exactly as I found it. By the time Adam came downstairs in sweatpants and a clean t-shirt, I was back on the couch with the blanket over my knees and a mug of chamomile tea cooling untouched beside me. He looked at me for a long second, and I lowered my eyes with the obedience he had started to expect. "You should sleep," he said. "Tomorrow is important." I almost asked important for whom, but I let the question die behind my teeth. "What's tomorrow?" "Just a meeting," he said, sitting beside me carefully, as if my body were a fragile object he owned. "Victor is coming by in the afternoon, Elise too. We all need to be on the same page." "About my bakery." His jaw tightened. "About protecting your bakery while you recover." "And the transfer document?" The words escaped before I could stop them. Adam went still. Not for long, but long enough. Then he reached for my hand with that practiced tenderness that had fooled me for years. "You saw that?" "It was on the computer." I was going to explain it properly. "It looked pretty explained." He sighed, rubbing his thumb over my knuckles. "Nora, nothing in that document is permanent. It's a safety net. You can barely stand for 20 minutes without pain. You forgot vendor calls, you missed the payroll review, and last week you snapped at Marisol so hard she cried. Marisol cried because you told her I might close the pastry program, because you talked about changing production while on pain medication." I pulled my hand away. "I asked her to test a new laminated dough schedule. That is not a breakdown, Adam. That is my job." His eyes softened, but not with love, with pity. "This is what I mean. You don't hear yourself. Everything becomes a fight. Every concern becomes an attack." Before I could answer, Lily appeared halfway down the stairs in her pajamas, her hair damp from a shower, her face small and tense in the dim hallway light. Adam turned instantly into the gentler version of himself. "Hey, Bug. Go back to bed." She looked at me, not him. "Are you okay?" I smiled because mothers learn to lie with their faces long before they lie with words. "I'm okay." She did not believe me, but she went upstairs because childhood teaches children they survive adults by leaving rooms when told. The next morning, Adam brought me breakfast on a tray. Scrambled eggs, berries, toast, cut diagonally the way I liked it, and 2 pills in a tiny white cup. "Doctor said you shouldn't wait until the pain gets bad," he said. "Take them now so you're comfortable before Victor comes." "I only take 1 in the morning. You had a rough night. You don't know that." "I slept beside you," he said. "You were restless." He was not wrong. I had lain awake listening to him breathe, wondering how many nights he had slept peacefully beside the woman he was preparing to remove from her own life. I picked up 1 pill and placed it on my tongue. He watched closely. Too closely. So I lifted the water glass, tilted my head, and pretended to swallow. The pill stayed tucked against the inside of my cheek, bitter and chalky, while Adam smiled with relief. "Good," he murmured. "That's better." When he left to answer a call, I walked slowly to the bathroom, closed the door, and spit the pill into a tissue. I stared at the damp white circle in my palm, and my hands began to shake, not from withdrawal, not from pain, but from the realization that my husband had been measuring my obedience by whether I swallowed what he gave me. By noon, the house had become a theater. Elise arrived with salad and sympathy. Victor arrived with leather shoes polished bright enough to reflect the kitchen lights. Adam kept touching my shoulder in front of them, asking whether I needed to sit, whether the noise was too much, whether I had taken my medicine. Each question was a small public record. Nora is fragile. Nora is medicated. Nora must be managed. Victor spoke about cash flow, expansion risk, temporary leadership gaps. Elise spoke about family sacrifice and how sometimes strong women needed permission to stop being strong. I listened from the end of the table, my ribs aching, my head clear, the unswallowed pill hidden in the bathroom trash beneath a wad of tissue. "Sweet Harbor cannot pause for your recovery," Victor said, folding his hands. "You've built something valuable, Nora. Don't let pride endanger it." "My pride built it," I said. Adam gave a small, embarrassed laugh, as if translating me for the room. "What Nora means is she's protective. What I mean is I heard myself clearly the first time." Elise's eyes flicked to Adam. There it was again, the silent exchange, the shared conclusion that my clarity was inconvenient. After Victor left, Adam insisted I rest before dinner. I let him help me upstairs. I let him arrange pillows behind my back. I let him close the curtains and place water on the nightstand. Then I let my breathing slow until he believed I was asleep. When the bedroom door clicked shut, I opened my eyes. The house below settled into a low murmur of voices. I eased out of bed, biting back a sound as pain flashed through my ribs, and crossed to the laundry hamper where I had hidden my phone beneath a sweater. The screen lit my face in the dark. I opened the kitchen camera app first, but the live feed was muted. Before I could fix the audio, Adam's voice rose from the hallway below, close enough to hear through the floor vent. He was on the phone, speaking softly, almost warmly. "No, she took it, she's out." A pause. "Tomorrow she'll be too tired to fight us. We just need to make her sign." The words were so quiet I almost convinced myself I had misheard them, but the silence that followed was louder than any scream. "Tomorrow she'll be too tired to fight us. We just need to make her sign." I sat on the edge of my bed with my phone glowing in my hands, my ribs burning, my mouth so dry it felt lined with dust. Below me, my husband moved through our house with the confidence of a man who believed the woman upstairs had already been handled. For a few seconds I could not breathe, not because of the injury, not because of the pain, but because the last piece of denial inside me had finally broken. Adam was not overwhelmed. He was not confused. He was not simply listening to bad advice from Elise or being pressured by Victor. He was planning. He was timing my medication, measuring my exhaustion, shaping my weakness into a weapon, and tomorrow he intended to put a pen in my hand and make me surrender the life I had built. I stared at the live kitchen camera app, my thumb trembling over the audio icon. The camera had been installed years earlier after a delivery driver claimed he had dropped off 20 pounds of imported chocolate that never arrived. I had laughed at the time and said no one would ever find drama in a bakery kitchen except maybe a collapsing soufflé. Now that little black camera mounted near the ceiling of the kitchen might be the only witness left that did not belong to Adam. I turned the audio on. At first, there was only static, the faint hum of the refrigerator, a chair scraping across tile. Then Elise's voice came through, sharp and low. "You should not have said anything on the phone upstairs. Sound travels in this house." Adam answered, "She's asleep." "You hope she's asleep." "She took the pill." "You watched her swallow it?" "Yes." I looked toward the bathroom trash where the tissue lay buried, and for the first time in days, something cold and steady moved through me. He had watched the performance, but he had not known it was one. On the screen, the kitchen appeared in a strange fisheye angle. The marble island, the pendant lights, the rain, dark windows, Elise standing with one hand on her hip, and Adam at the counter with his phone beside a folder. Victor was not there. His black leather notebook was placed neatly near the sink like an object waiting for its owner to return. Elise poured herself wine from the bottle she had brought, even though she had scolded me 2 days earlier for drinking half a glass at dinner while on medication. "Tomorrow cannot get messy," she said. "Victor won't tolerate family drama." Adam laughed under his breath. "Victor cares about control. Once Nora signs the temporary authority, he gets control through me." "Not through you," Elise corrected. "With you. Don't start thinking you own this by yourself." I pressed record on my phone's screen capture, then opened a second app to back up the camera feed to cloud storage. My fingers moved with a strange calm now. Every tremor had purpose. Every breath had a job. If I panicked, I would lose details. If I cried, I would miss something. Downstairs, Adam opened the folder. "She's already suspicious. She mentioned the transfer document. Because you left it on the office computer like an idiot. I didn't think she'd go looking." "That's your problem," Elise snapped. "You keep underestimating her while pretending she's helpless." A bitter smile pulled at my mouth. For the first time all week, my sister had said something true. Adam leaned against the island, running a hand through his hair. "She is helpless right now. She can't drive comfortably. She can't stand in the bakery for a full shift. She can't sleep without painkillers. And everyone knows she's been emotional." "Emotional is not enough," Elise said. "The document needs a reason. Staff stability, investor protection, medical recovery, Lily's routine. That's why tomorrow has to look like kindness, not pressure." Lily's name made my hand tighten around the phone. On the camera, Adam looked away. It was small, almost invisible, but I caught it. A flicker of shame, quickly buried. "Don't bring Lily into it more than necessary." Elise laughed softly. "You already brought Lily into it when you told her Nora might need time away." "I said that because she needed preparing." "No, or you said it because you needed the child scared enough not to fight you later." I wanted to throw the phone across the room. I wanted to storm downstairs and slap the wine glass from Elise's hand. I wanted to stand in front of Adam and ask what kind of father used his daughter's fear as paperwork. But that was what they expected from me, wasn't it? Nora exploding. Nora unstable. Nora too emotional to make decisions. So I stayed still. The woman they were describing would have run down the stairs. The woman they forgot I was knew ovens, contracts, suppliers, lawyers, payroll, insurance claims, and how to stand in a burning kitchen until every tray came out unscorched. Adam gathered the papers and tapped them into a neat stack. Tomorrow we start with concern. You talk about family. Victor talks about financial continuity. I talk about medication and stress. If she refuses, we don't push too hard in front of everyone. We let her react. The more upset she gets, the more obvious the need for intervention becomes. Elise nodded. And if she stays calm, she won't. His certainty was the most insulting thing he had said all night. I lowered the phone and looked toward the bedroom door. For a moment, the pain in my ribs faded beneath something hotter. He was not only trying to steal my bakery, he was betting on the version of me he had created. He had rehearsed my breakdown before I even entered the room. That was when I understood exactly what I had to do. I could not confront him in the house with only pieces of a recording. I needed them comfortable, careless, and complete. I needed a stage where they believed I was weak, a conversation where they believed I was absent, and a record no lawyer could dismiss as panic. I saved the screen recording, sent it to a new email address Adam did not know existed, and then opened the bakery security dashboard. Sweet Harbor had 6 cameras: front door, register, office, delivery entrance, stockroom, and kitchen prep area. The kitchen camera at home was useful, but the bakery system was better. Audio was limited, but the office camera had backup storage, and the meeting tomorrow would likely happen there if Adam wanted staff and legal documents nearby. I changed the admin recovery email back to mine. Then I created a second user account under Marisol's name. Because Marisol had been with me since the beginning, and if anyone still knew the difference between Nora injured and Nora incapable, it was her. At 3 a.m, I texted her from my hidden email account instead of my phone. I wrote, "If Adam asks, say nothing. But please make sure the office camera is online tomorrow. I need the truth protected." She answered 7 minutes later. "I knew something was wrong. Camera will be on. I'm with you." I closed my eyes then, and for the first time since the accident, I did not feel completely alone. The next evening, Adam arranged dinner as if laying out bait. Elise arrived with flowers. Victor arrived with a bottle of wine and a face full of false sympathy. Lily was told to eat upstairs because adult business talk would be boring. I wore a soft blue sweater, minimal makeup, and the expression of a woman too tired to resist. At the table, they circled me with concern, each sentence polished to sound loving and land like a chain. I let my voice shake. I let my eyes fill. I let Adam believe the pill from earlier had done its work. Then, when Elise slid the folder toward me and said, "No one is taking anything from you, Nora. We're only protecting what you built," I pushed back my chair too fast, winced convincingly, and whispered, "I can't do this." Adam stood. "Nora, wait." But I was already moving toward the stairs. "I need to lie down," I said, making my voice small enough to satisfy them. I climbed slowly, closed my bedroom door, waited 10 seconds, then locked it and opened the camera app. Downstairs, no one spoke at first. Then Victor gave a quiet laugh. "Well," he said, "that was easier than I expected." Adam's face appeared on the screen as he leaned over the kitchen island, every trace of tenderness gone. "She thinks this is about rest," he said. "After tomorrow, she won't have the right to decide anything." I had heard people say that betrayal feels like a knife in the back, but that night, watching my husband on a tiny phone screen from the bedroom where he believed I was drugged and defeated, I learned betrayal felt more like a hand pressed gently over your mouth by someone who used to kiss you there. Adam did not look angry downstairs. That was the worst part. If he had shouted, if he had paced, if he had thrown a glass against the wall and called me impossible, I might have been able to fit his cruelty into something familiar. But he looked calm, businesslike, almost bored. He stood at the kitchen island with the folder open in front of him, sleeves rolled to his elbows, speaking about my future the way he discussed oven repairs or quarterly tax estimates. Elise sat across from him with her wine, one leg crossed over the other, the same sister who had taught me how to braid my hair when we were girls, the same sister who cried at my wedding and said Adam was the first man who truly saw me. Now she was watching him erase me with the steady patience of a woman waiting for a contract to dry. Victor's voice crackled through Adam's phone on speaker, smooth and cold. "The medical angle needs to be clean. I don't want this looking like a hostile takeover inside a family bakery." Adam glanced toward the hallway, then lowered his voice. "It won't. Nora has documented injuries, prescription pain medication, missed meetings, emotional volatility, and resistance to reasonable support. Emotional volatility, I whispered in the dark, tasting the phrase like poison. Last month, I had cried in the stockroom because I could not lift a 25-pound bag of flour without pain. 2 weeks ago, I had snapped at Adam because he approved a cheaper vanilla supplier behind my back. 3 days ago, I had raised my voice when Elise told Lily her mother needed serious help. They had collected my pain like receipts. Elise leaned closer to the phone. I can confirm the family side. I've seen mood swings, suspicion, paranoia about money. She accused Adam of trying to control her. Victor gave a small laugh. Was he? No one laughed with him. Not because the answer was no, but because the truth was inconvenient when spoken too directly. Adam rubbed his face. She doesn't understand what's at stake. Sweet Harbor is worth something now. Real money. She built it, fine, but she built it small. She thinks her grandmother's recipes and neighborhood loyalty are enough. They're not. There's a chance here to expand before someone copies the brand. My hand tightened around the phone until my wrist brace creaked. Sweet Harbor had survived recessions, rising rent, supply shortages, a pandemic, and the year Lily was born when I slept in 2-hour pieces and decorated wedding cakes with a baby monitor clipped to my apron. It had not survived because Adam attended 3 investor lunches and learned the word scalable. Victor said, "The offer stands if control is transferred before the end of the quarter. After that, valuation changes. Expansion requires speed and silence," Elise added. "Nora talks to staff like they're family. If they know the real plan, they'll panic." The real plan, I repeated softly. Because sometimes the only thing keeping you from breaking is naming what is breaking you. Adam turned a page in the folder. "We don't tell staff anything until the management authority is signed. Tomorrow, we frame it as a recovery plan. Temporary, compassionate. Nora takes medical leave. I step in. Victor provides bridge capital. Elise supports family transition. Once the first documents are done, we restructure." "And the sale?" Victor asked. "Not sale," Adam said quickly, as if the word itself could betray him. "Strategic acquisition." Elise rolled her eyes. "Call it whatever lets you sleep. The point is that Nora cannot be allowed to block it." Victor's voice sharpened. "And if she refuses to sign tomorrow?" Adam looked down at the papers for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was softer, almost regretful, and somehow that made it uglier. "Then we move to the incapacity route. Her doctor won't declare her incompetent, but he doesn't need to. He only has to confirm she's under pain management, recovering from trauma, and advised to avoid stressful decisions. We combine that with witness statements, employee concern, missed obligations, and Lily's stability. It creates pressure." I felt the room tilt. Employee concern. That meant someone else had been pulled in. Maybe not maliciously. Maybe Adam had gone to my staff with his gentle voice and tired eyes and said he was worried. Maybe he had asked whether they had noticed I seemed emotional, forgetful, intense. People answer those questions carefully when they think they are helping. They do not realize they are laying bricks in someone else's prison. Elise tapped her fingernail against her glass. "Lily is the strongest leverage, whether you like it or not." Adam stiffened. "I said we keep her out of it. You can say whatever makes you feel decent, Adam, but if Nora believes she might lose daily custody, she will sign anything. Mothers like her always do. Her whole identity is being needed." The sentence entered me like ice water. My sister did not just want my bakery. She wanted to use the most sacred part of my life as a handle. Adam looked toward the stairs again. For 1 second, I saw the man I married trying to surface in his face. Then Victor spoke from the phone. "Custody threats are messy. Use concern, not threat. If she takes leave voluntarily, everything is cleaner. A private recovery facility for 8 to 12 weeks gives us enough runway." 8 to 12 weeks? I breathed. In that time, they could replace my systems, change vendors, scare staff, shift accounts, announce expansion, reshape the company, and tell the world I had blessed it from some quiet center where my calls were monitored and my anger would be called symptoms. Adam nodded slowly. "There's a place outside Portland. Discreet, wellness, focused." Elise found it. I looked at my sister on the screen. She did not flinch. She only sipped her wine. "It's not a hospital," she said. "It photographs like a retreat. That matters. No one wants a scandal." Victor said, "And after?" Silence spread across the kitchen. Adam placed both hands on the counter. After she stabilizes, we separate. My chest went hollow. Not because I still wanted him. Something inside me had already walked away from Adam long before my body could. But hearing him say it with such planning, such clean timing, was like watching him dig a grave and call it landscaping. The marriage has been over for a while, he continued. Nora just doesn't know how to let go. Once the business is secured and Lily is settled, divorce will be easier. Elise tilted her head. And your share? My compensation will come through the management agreement and equity package after restructuring. Victor added. Not love, not concern, not fear for my health, compensation, equity, performance. My life had become a deal table, and the man who once held my hand through labor was negotiating the terms of my disappearance. I kept recording. I backed up the file again. I sent the clip to the hidden email, to Marisol, and to a contact I had not called since my mother's estate dispute years earlier, Judith Carver, the attorney who had once told me, never argue with liars in private when you can make them explain themselves in public. Downstairs, Elise gathered the papers into a neat stack. Tomorrow, before the employees and the lawyer, we make Nora do it herself. She hands you the keys, signs the transfer, and thanks everyone for giving her time to heal. Adam exhaled, almost smiling. She will. By tomorrow afternoon, Sweet Harbor won't be hers to protect anymore. My phone screen dimmed in my hands, but I did not move. I sat there in the dark, listening to the rain, and the people I loved plan the theft of my business, my child, and my name. Then I wiped my face, opened the camera app one more time, and whispered to the woman reflected faintly in the black glass. Let them think tomorrow is their meeting. By morning, I had become exactly what Adam needed me to look like. Pale, slow, quiet, and easy to underestimate. I let him help me button my coat even though my fingers worked fine. I let him guide me to the passenger seat even though I could have walked alone. I let him speak to me in that low, careful voice he used when witnesses were nearby. The voice that said, "See how patient I am with her? See how much she needs me?" Seattle was washed clean by rain, the streets silver under a weak gray sky. And as we drove toward Sweet Harbor Bakery, I watched water crawl across the window and thought of every morning I had driven that same route before sunrise with flour on my jeans and recipe ideas scribbled on napkins. Back then, the bakery had been my sanctuary, the one place where effort turned into something warm and honest. Dough did not lie. Butter did not gaslight. Ovens did not pretend to love you while waiting for you to burn. Adam kept glancing at me as he drove. "You're doing the right thing," he said. "Today is just about stability." I turned my face slightly toward the window so he would not see the steadiness in my eyes. "I know," he exhaled, relieved by the smallness of my voice. "Victor can come off intense, but he understands business. Elise understands family. And I understand you." For a second, I almost laughed. He understood the version of me he had invented, the woman too medicated to question him, too emotional to defend herself, too afraid of losing her daughter to refuse a pen. He did not understand the woman who had spent the night saving videos, forwarding files, calling Judith Carver, and arranging the one meeting he could not control. Judith had answered my message at 4:12 in the morning with a sentence that felt like a hand around mine. "Do not sign anything. Do not warn them. Bring the performance to the stage." By 7, she had already contacted my doctor, Dr. Sloan, who confirmed in writing that I was physically recovering but cognitively clear and legally capable of managing my affairs. By 8, Marisol had restored full security access at the bakery, downloaded the office camera backups, and placed a small speaker behind a stack of pastry boxes in the conference room. By 9, my entire life had narrowed to one goal. Let Adam say one more lie in front of people who mattered, then answer him with the truth. When we pulled up behind Sweet Harbor, the smell hit me before I opened the car door. Yeast, coffee, brown sugar, lemon zest, and toasted almonds. For one dangerous second, grief rose so sharply I had to grip the seatbelt. This place was not just a business. It was Lily sleeping in a carrier beside the mixer. It was my grandmother's handwriting taped inside the spice cabinet. It was Marisol burning the first tray of croissants and crying because she thought I would fire her, then becoming the best production manager in the city. It was Christmas orders stacked to the ceiling, wedding cakes driven through snow, staff meals eaten standing up, and every customer who said the bakery made their sad day softer. Adam thought he could put all of that into a folder and transfer it with a signature. He came around to open my door and offered his hand. I took it. Let him feel generous. Let him feel safe. Inside, the bakery had been arranged like a courtroom pretending to be a family intervention. The front display cases were full, but the cheerful morning noise was wrong. Staff members whispered near the espresso machine. Marisol stood by the office door, her dark eyes finding mine for half a second before she looked away, professional and unreadable. Victor waited at the conference table in his charcoal suit with a lawyer beside him, a narrow woman named Miss Dane, who had the clean, empty expression of someone paid not to ask moral questions. Elise sat with a folder in her lap, wearing cream silk and sisterly concern like a costume. Adam's hand settled at the small of my back. "Everyone, thank you for coming," he said, before I could speak in my own building. Nora wanted this to be handled transparently. No, I thought. You wanted it handled publicly enough to trap me, privately enough to hide yourself. He guided me to a chair at the head of the table. But before I sat, I looked around at the faces watching me. Marisol, Luis from bread production, Tasha from front of house, Penny from bookkeeping, 2 shift leads, Victor, Miss Dane, Elise, Adam. Some looked worried, some looked ashamed, some looked like they had already been told a version of me and were waiting to see whether I would prove it true. Adam remained standing. As most of you know, Nora is still recovering from a serious accident. She has tried to stay involved because she loves this place. But that love has sometimes pushed her beyond what is healthy. His voice softened perfectly. We all want her back. But we want her back well. Elise nodded, eyes shining as if she had practiced tears in the mirror. This isn't about taking anything from you, Nora. It's about giving you permission to heal. Victor leaned forward. The proposed temporary management authority protects operations, payroll, vendor contracts, and investor confidence during your recovery. It is reversible once your medical team clears you for full executive function. I looked at Miss Dane. And who wrote this document? She adjusted her glasses. My office prepared it based on information provided by Mr. Bennett and Miss Hart. Not me. Adam sighed. Nora, we discussed this. No, I said softly. You discussed me. The room went quiet. Adam's eyes sharpened, warning me without changing his expression. This is exactly the stress response we were hoping to avoid. There it was, the first lie offered cleanly to the room. I let my hand tremble as I reached for the water glass. Not because I was weak, but because I wanted him confident enough to continue. Elise leaned toward me. Sweetheart, no one here is your enemy. I looked at my sister and thought of her voice from the kitchen camera. Mothers like her always do. Then this should be easy, I said. Victor frowned. What should? Transparency. Before anyone could answer, the office door opened. Judith Carver walked in wearing a navy coat, silver hair pinned back, leather briefcase in one hand. Behind her came Dr. Sloan, calm and unsmiling, followed by a young IT consultant Marisol trusted, and Lily's school counselor, Mrs. Henson, whom I had asked to keep my daughter safely out of Adam's reach that morning. Adam's face changed so quickly that for once, everyone saw it. The concern vanished first, then the confidence, then the husband. What remained was a man caught mid-theft with his hand still inside the drawer. What is this? He demanded. Judith set her briefcase on the table. This is legal representation for Mrs. Bennett. No document will be signed today. Miss Dane sat straighter. I was not informed opposing counsel would be present. That's usually how ambushes feel when they fail, Judith said. Adam turned to me, his voice low. Nora, you don't understand what you're doing. I met his eyes. I understand everything now. Victor stood. This meeting is becoming inappropriate. Not yet, I said. It becomes appropriate now. I nodded once toward Marisol. She walked to the shelf behind the pastry boxes and pressed a button on the hidden speaker. My own kitchen filled the conference room before anyone saw the video. The hum of the refrigerator, Elise's wine glass touching the counter, Adam's voice saying, clear as a signature, once Nora signs the temporary authority, he gets control through me. Elise made a strangled sound. Victor's face went flat. Adam lunged toward the speaker, but the IT consultant stepped in front of it, holding up a laptop already playing the video from the cloud backup. On the screen, Adam leaned over our kitchen island, every trace of tenderness gone. His recorded voice continued. If she refuses, we move to the incapacity route. Medication, missed obligations, Lily's stability, it creates pressure. The room had gone so silent I could hear someone in the front of the bakery drop a metal tong against the display case. Adam looked at me, not with guilt, but with fury that I had survived the trap. I stood slowly, pain cutting through my ribs, but my voice did not shake. "You told everyone I was too sick to run my own life," I said. "So let the kitchen camera show them who was really trying to destroy it." The video kept playing after I spoke, and for once, no one in that room tried to interrupt me. Maybe it was shock, maybe it was fear, maybe it was the strange power of hearing a lie stripped of its costume. Adam's recorded voice filled the conference room again, calm and careful, saying, "If Nora believes she might lose daily custody, she will sign anything." Across the table, Elise closed her eyes as if the sound hurt her, but I knew better. It was not the betrayal that wounded her, it was being heard. Victor's lawyer, Miss Dane, slowly removed her glasses and set them on the table. Victor stared at the laptop screen with the frozen expression of a man calculating how far away he needed to stand from a scandal before it splashed his shoes. Adam looked from the speaker to Marisol, then to me, and for the first time since my accident, he did not look like a concerned husband. He looked like a cornered stranger. "That's out of context," he said, but his voice cracked on the last word. Judith Carver did not even blink. "Excellent. Then provide the context in which discussing medication pressure, incapacity strategy, custody leverage, and business control becomes innocent." No one breathed. "Doctor." Sloane stepped forward with a folder in her hand. "For the record, Mrs. Bennett is physically recovering from injuries, but she is not cognitively impaired. She has never been advised to surrender business authority, and there is no medical basis for placing her in a residential recovery facility against her will." Adam turned toward her as though she had personally betrayed him. "You don't understand what we've been dealing with at home." "I understand my patient, doctor," Sloane said. "I also understand when medical language is being misused by people who are not doctors." Elise finally opened her eyes. "Nora, I was trying to help you." The words were so familiar that they almost made me tired. For years, Elise had hidden cruelty behind competence, control behind concern, envy behind advice. But that morning, in the bakery I had built, surrounded by the people she had expected to watch me fall apart, I no longer needed to win her love to survive her. "No," I said. "You were trying to turn my recovery into a doorway you could walk through and take whatever you thought I didn't deserve to keep." Her face hardened. "You always make yourself the victim. And you always call me dramatic when I finally name what you did?" Victor cleared his throat, gathering his notebook with hands that were not as steady as before. "This matter appears to be internal family conflict. My firm will withdraw from any further discussion until ownership and management authority are clarified." Judith turned to him. "Your firm will preserve all communications with Mr. Bennett and Miss Hart regarding Sweet Harbor Bakery, Mrs. Bennett's health, proposed acquisition terms, management transfer documents, and any discussions involving custody or medical leave. You will receive a formal preservation letter within the hour." Victor stopped moving. Miss Dane gave him a sharp look that said, "Sit down before you dig deeper," and he obeyed. Adam pushed his chair back. "Nora, can we talk alone?" The question almost made me laugh. Alone was where he had been strongest. Alone was where he had named my questions paranoia and my pain instability. Alone was where he had watched me swallow pills and smiled. "No," I said. "You lost alone." Marisol made a sound behind me, half breath, half sob, and when I looked at her, tears stood in her eyes. "I knew you weren't giving up the bakery," she said. "I knew it. That broke something open in the room." Louise from Bread Production stepped forward and said Adam had asked him if I seemed confused after the accident. Tasha said Elise had told the front staff not to upset me because I was emotionally unpredictable. Penny admitted Adam had requested duplicate access to payroll and vendor accounts, claiming I had approved it verbally. One by one, the quiet pieces became a map. He had not built the lie overnight. He had fed it into my business through whispers, sympathy, and careful little warnings, until decent people began doubting what they saw with their own eyes. Judith documented every statement. The IT consultant secured every video file. Dr. Sloane gave her written opinion. Miss Dane announced that no document would be signed under these circumstances. And Adam, the man who had arrived that morning certain I would hand him the keys to my life, sat with both hands clenched on the table while the room moved on without his permission. Then the office door opened, and Lily stepped inside with Mrs. Henson behind her. My first instinct was panic. "Lily," I whispered, But she was not looking at me. She was looking at her father. She had heard enough. Not everything, thank God, but enough to understand the shape of it. Her backpack hung from one shoulder, her hair tucked behind her ears, her face too pale and too grown for 14. Adam stood quickly. Bug, this is adult stuff. You shouldn't be here. Lily did not move. Aunt Elise told me Mom might have to go away. The room went still again, but this silence was different. This silence had a child standing inside it. Adam's mouth opened, then closed. I was trying to prepare you. For what? She asked. Her voice trembled, but she did not cry. For losing her? Or for believing you when you said it was her fault? Adam flinched as if she had slapped him. I wanted to go to her, but I let her finish because there are moments when protecting a child means not taking away her voice. Lily looked at Elise next. You made me scared of my own mom. Elise's face collapsed, not into guilt, but into humiliation. Sweetheart, you don't understand. Lily stepped back from her. I understand enough. That was the moment Adam finally lowered his head. Not when he was exposed as a liar. Not when his plan failed. Not when his money disappeared. Only when his daughter looked at him and saw him clearly. After that, everything became paperwork, passwords, locks, legal notices, and long afternoons that felt both exhausting and clean. Judith filed emergency protections for the business and blocked Adam from all accounts. Marisol and I changed every system login before sunset. Victor's firm sent a careful email pretending they had never intended anything improper. Elise sent 3 messages, then a long apology that still somehow blamed my misinterpretation, and I saved it for the file without answering. Adam moved out 2 nights later. Not dramatically, not with shouting, but with 2 suitcases and the stunned silence of a man who had believed kindness was a mask he could put on forever. The divorce took months. Healing took longer. My ribs mended before my trust did. Some mornings I still woke reaching for fear before I remembered the house was quiet because it was safe. Lily and I started going to the bakery before opening once a week. Just the 2 of us, making cinnamon rolls while the city was still dark. The first time I stood in front of the ovens again, Marisol handed me an apron and said, "Welcome back, boss," and I cried into a towel beside the proofing rack because strength does not always look like standing tall. Sometimes it looks like returning to the place someone tried to steal and touching the counter until your hands stop shaking. Sweet Harbor did not become a chain. It became more itself. We added a small sign near the register that said, "Still handmade, still here." Customers thought it was about pastries. Maybe it was. Maybe it was about me. A year after the accident, I found the white pill bottle in the back of a bathroom drawer and threw it away without shaking. Then I opened the kitchen camera app, watched the empty room for a moment, and turned it off. I did not need to keep listening for betrayal anymore. I had heard enough to save myself. And if you have ever been called weak by someone who needed you silent, if someone ever used concern to control you, or if you had to gather proof because your truth alone was not believed, remember this. You are not crazy for noticing the cage just because they painted it like care. Comment below where you're watching from. Share your thoughts about Nora's story. And subscribe for more powerful stories about betrayal, hidden truth, justice, and women taking back the lives others tried to steal.